A lot of people ask me, what is sacred geometry? My definition of sacred geometry, it's not just about remembering who we are, where we came from, but the word sacred means that something is permanent, that which is permanent, that which is timeless, it's a forever. And it means that we have in our cells a direct connection to everything in the microcosm, the cells, the atoms, the plants, having a direct communion and relationship with the heavens, the above, the cosmos, and that we are the bridge between the worlds. The key word for sacred geometry is called fractal. So fractal is when the inside is the same as the outside. That means there's no division. It means unity, consciousness. There's a lot of people hear the word sacred and think of something religious, but it's not about religion. It's something higher than that. Sacred here actually means that which is permanent, forever, that which is timeless. So these are the codes of creation. These are the mother of all form, and all this external phenomena that we see is actually encoded within our cells. So I call this language, this star language, source codes. It's going back to where we came from. So one of the most dominant images in sacred geometry is called the Taurus. So the Taurus knows how to suck everything in like this, and then it expands and releases it and spits everything out. So this was the fundamental shape of the embryo. This was what we looked like when we were 512 cells. So I always like to make the connection between the embryo and then who we are now. So we see the fundamental form of the spiral. This is a ram's horn, and this is actually a mathematical sequence called 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, the fabulous Fibonacci sequence. The language of spirals is the key to all dynamic structures. So another important thing is looking at what we call the 5 Platonic solids. So the tetrahedron is the shape of pollen and living things. So this is the first volume that happens in space, and then it becomes the cube. But what we have inside the cube, which is our 8 original cells, inside the cube is what's called the star tetrahedron. So this geometrical model that you're looking at now is actually what you were in the very beginning of your creation. So that's called embryogenesis. And then as we became all these sacred shapes, the first organ to form was the human heart, not the brain. So that's called cardiogenesis. So this is what I mean by the language of the embryonic forms. So we see this reflected in the seeds of nature. So this seed here is 5-petaled, and what that means is that everything that is 5-sided represents biology, because every protein in our body is based on the 5 Platonic solids. So we are a language of pentagonal symmetry. So if 5 represents what we call biology, what's happening now is that we've been born, we're incarnated into a world based on 6. So you can see here that this hexagon, the 6 around the 1, is a symbol for the emerging technology, because when we look at, say, a crystal, we know that this quartz crystal, this shard, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So hexagon represents technology. But the weird twist to understand sacred geometry is that we're not just pro-pentagon biology and 6 technology. When we look at the slice of DNA like this, when we look at the double helix of DNA, and we were to do a transverse slice or cut, as we walk up the spiral staircase of our twin helix, the geometric structure of our DNA is based on pentagons and hexagons. So we're at a critical point in our evolution where we have to take care of the planet. That's the 5, the pentagon, the shape of every protein in our body, and marry it with what we call good technology, because I believe that the consciousness of every person is based on our pure thoughts, our pure intent. So that's why one of the upcoming topics in sacred geometry is cymatics, which is about the law of vibration. So this tuning fork vibrates at what's called 108 hertz. So when we tap this, it's vibrating, you can hear it. And when we place it on certain parts of our body, we are receiving the vibration of harmonic coding. That's why I call this the source codes. And perhaps our best definition of sacred geometry. It's not just about remembering who we are and where we came from. Some of the key words that define sacred geometry is called embeddedness, nesting. So our best example, or my favorite example, is that fractal is not about fractionation or cutting things into quarters and halves. It's about nesting harmonically in the right sacred divine proportion. So this babushka doll represents our ancestors. So here we have our ancestor from the past giving birth to, say, the divine mother and father, and inside the parent we have the child, and inside this child is going to pass on its DNA to survive into its future progeny. So we can see that there's a continuous process of birth, death, reincarnation, and what carries the memory is the DNA, this pentahexa phenomena. So fractal is all about having a baby. It's about taking your memory into the future. And even if you look at the word memory, mem in the ancient Hebrew is the water. And the ori, and there's this cute little baby here, it's so cute. And then the mem ori is all about the, ori is the light and the mem is the water. So what stores all this memory from past lives and future lives is this liquid light, and that's what's in every cell. So we are amazing beings. We are here to create a better world where the education is supreme, and where we no longer suppress knowledge, we share in it. So if I was to say to you, if we were to give a whole day talking about the Fibonacci sequence, which is encapsulated in the North Lachelle Golden Spiral, a whole summary of a 2-day seminar would be the word shareable, because shareability is the key to pass on sacred knowledge, that which is permanent. So I always like children to draw the golden spiral, because when we look at the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, this is the language of pine cones and sunflowers. You can see this necklace that I'm wearing here. This is actually the heart of what's called the protea. It's a plant that grows here, but if you look at the counter-rotating fields, we have 2134. So nature speaks a very sacred language of numbers. And the reason why I like turning number into art, what I call the art of number, is because number can be considered like left brain. It's the male cortex of the brain. We can say that it represents rational, analytical, but when we turn number, like the Fibonacci sequence, into the spiral, the right brain, the feminine brain, is that visual content. It's holograms, it's music, it's creativity. So when we teach art of number and getting our new curriculum to teach children to draw exotic natural patterns, we are creating what's called whole brain learning. So I'm really excited about where our education, it's our duty as concerned parents to teach this ecosophy, this connection to this Mother Earth starship, that we need to look after her, we need to grow organic gardens, we need to drink pure waters, we need to create beautiful villages where people are all learning how to share, how to connect with the divine. Thank you for your time.